Hi,
Andy!
Andy, it's a sad day for the BBC. A sad day for me, even though I left the BBC a long time ago. You've been a very special colleague. You're the only person who I think I've been the boss of and who has also been my boss, and that's very rare, and we've remained friends. All the best, and hope to see you in London or in Delhi or somewhere else very soon.
Now that we are talking about Andy, I'm reminded of the days when on our news desk in the BBC Delhi Bureau, where correspondents used to walk up for news, Andy would walk up and say, "So, gupshup kya hai? What's the gossip?" And there was always plenty to share. All harmless stuff, of course. But Andy ji, like a true journalist, you always got a lot of gossip from us and never gave us any. So it's time to make up for all that. Do come to India and tell us all the gossip.
Hey Andy, I remember when we met, 1993. We were both newbies in that old Nizamuddin office, and we kind of found ourselves learning together a little bit about Delhi. But it's been a lot of fun working with you. It was a lot of fun, and there are lots of stories, but I don't think I can really share them in public. So, good luck, have a lot of fun in retirement, and I know I'll see you somewhere, someday, soon.
All the best for the new life.
And this is the ex-BBC crowd saying
Bye!
bye! And welcome to the ex-BBC Wala Club.
yes.
Hello Andy, remember this place? It's the Batcave. Well, actually no, of course it isn't. This is the very heart of the Palace of Westminster. Remember these extraordinary stairs? When you're in a rush trying to file on something, Mrs. Thatcher resigning or something or other. Oh my goodness. Follow me down, follow me down, follow me down, follow me down. What an extraordinary place, eh? This lair at the very core of British politics was the BBC World Service Political Correspondence Office. And this, of course, was the scene of many of your journalistic triumphs. And it has to be said, you have been a fantastic hack, Andy, not just a politics hack, but an everything hack. And more importantly than that, a really decent all-round bloke. Wise, generous, encouraging, and enthusiastic. I'm going to just get you in a little bit more into this office, now we're home at the Sunday Times. Seen, as I say, of many of your triumphs. And at this point, I was going to say all sorts of things about kind of boozy nights in the 1990s. The problem is, I really can't remember they were that good. So instead, I'm just going to end on saying, you're a top man, thanks for everything, we're really going to miss you. Bye, Andy.
Party conferences, elections, poll tax riots, political songs, Billy Bragg, Belfast. I was your producer and the butt of your jokes. I remember you and Dennis Healy having a right old laugh at my expense. But perhaps the best thing out was making this, What's Left of Communism, with you and Shen. We won the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union Prize and a little road trip around Canada and North America, listening to that little-known band Nirvana all the way round. No moose, no mounties, but plenty of beer and plenty of bears. Andy, thank you so much for being an amazing colleague, so supportive and encouraging. I really, really love working with you. Thank you.
Yeah, I've got a bone to pick with you, you know. There I was, sitting at the Labour Party, happily, in a secure job, and you persuaded me to come to work for the BBC. It never changed. I mean, you know, it was always like that, persuading me to do things, and a happy person that I was. But honestly, Andy, I must say thank you. You did stand in the way of Bob Geldof, and there's a lot to be said for that, and for the rest of the BBC halting them from sacking me. So thank you, Andy. You've been a fantastic boss.
Andy, we didn't always see eye to eye, but there's no harm in that. But what I really want to say is that I have always had and still do have the greatest respect for you as a very, very good journalist and an honourable person. And so what I want to say is that I want to wish you a really, really happy, I won't say retirement, I will say post-BBC life. I'm here as living proof that it can be post-BBC life exists. It can be very happy and very productive. And I wish you all the very best because you deserve it. And send my love to the princess.
Andy, I wish you all the very best and a very successful realization of any future projects you might be doing. I'm sure you will spend the time, having left the BBC, going to wonderful places and doing amazing things. So once again, all the very best, and I hope to see you soon.
Andrew, I first got a sense of your sterling qualities when I came over to Bush a lot when Alan had been kidnapped, which, thank God, ended so well. We're really going to miss you. You've got amazingly good editorial judgment. You've got rock solid integrity. You know how to handle people, bring out the creative and the discipline of news. And more than anything, you represent, for me, the best of BBC World Service. Enjoy the next phase of life, and thank you very, very much.
Okay. Andrew, I'm sorry I can't be with you. I'm in Brussels, I think, as this is going on at the NATO meeting and then heading off to Munich. But I'd just like to say you are one of the people who's been the greatest pleasure to work with over my BBC career. You were there as a correspondent on the World Service, covering politics when I first arrived at Bush House a very long time ago now. And what I've always said about you is, you know, although we all worked for the World Service, I really thought you were one of the best political correspondents that the BBC has had. Even though you were dealing with a foreign audience, I really wanted to hear what you had to say, what your analysis was. And I think you're one of the rare, really high-powered journalists that has risen up into the managerial sphere. Some people may be smirking a little. I think my views about much of the management are well known. But you have honestly been a pleasure to work with. You're a colleague, a friend. I really wish you all the very best now for the future. So Andy, you know, gentleman correspondent, scholar, friend, colleague, all the very, very best now for the future.
Bye, Andy.
Bye, Andy.
Bye.
Wish you all the
Best
best.
wishes.
Hi, Andy. People say that memories are precious. This is a small memento which I still have, and this belongs to 1996, which is signed by you, Anuradha, and Samiha.
So 19 years old.
This is 19 years old.
Your son is 19 years old.
And so no new sons and no new memories.
No, I have a daughter since then.
My most abiding memory of Andy is when he sacked me, and he wasn't even my boss. This was when I'd been here for a year and my contract was up for renewal. We'd been told by London that it was happening, there was no problem. And then one day I received a fax and it said, we are not going to renew your contract because we are cost cutting. And you know, I read it in disbelief and I was thinking, okay, what happened here? And of course, you know, Andy had left a couple of clues so I could figure out that this was something, there was something wrong with it. And one of the clues was, it said something like, you owe the BBC 22 rupees 35 paise or some such absurd amount. And the second thing, which was the actual giveaway, said, give my love to your pet dog, Akshat. Now, Akshat was no pet dog, Akshat's my son. So I knew that this was Andy, right? Because Andy was the only one who called him my pet dog for some reason. I have no idea why. But I can never forget, you know, this prank that Andy played on me. And then, you know, several others that he played on several of our colleagues. It was great fun, actually, working with Andy.
I first met Andy Whitehead when Liliane recruited him back to World Service after a sabbatical in India. And he had a towering reputation as a manager, a great presenter, a super editor, a really prominent South Asia expert. But when we went into the management meeting to meet Andy for the first time, I was a bit disappointed and surprised to find that Liliane had actually signed David Seaman, sort of circa 1992. And you can see the very prominent ponytail there. That was a bit of a worry.
The first time I saw you properly in action, Andy, was in 1992. Neil Kinnock was knocking at the door of number 10. You were Polkor, I think, at the time. I was presenter of Europe Today. And on election night, you came down to the 3rd floor and dropped a bombshell. John Major, you said, was going to hang in there. Now, what I've always valued about you was you helped us when we needed your help, but you never interfered. Last year, I brought round my group of American students, and you gave us the BBC, your department, the World Service, all in 15 minutes flat. You could have printed it. So thank you very, very much. Good luck with what you're doing next. And who knows, With a bit of luck, we might even see that ponytail again. Any chance?
It is shocking that Andy is also leaving the BBC. I have known him for more than 20 years. We have worked together on many stories and projects. He has always been very helpful and very supportive. And I hope he has much to do beyond BBC because he is very talented and very versatile. And more than news, he is a good author. So I hope best is yet to come from him.
1999 Indian general election. The World Today by that time had been on air for about 18 months. Andy was a presenter and we went to India to cover the election. Elections in India, as we know, are vast enterprises, huge states with 50, 60, 70, 80 seats in parliament maybe. Perhaps I exaggerate. Some states a bit smaller than that. So where did we decide to go? We went to a state that had 1 seat in parliament, Sikkim, up in the mountains, up in the Himalayas. Why did we go to Sikkim? Well, a very beautiful place, but I suspect, Andy, am I right? You'd never been there before and you kind of wanted to tick that box. So off we went to Sikkim, and Richard Kenny, who's filming this, was with us, and Richard's just reminded me that he and I got in a car at the bottom of the mountain and drove sort of 4 hours up the winding mountain path to Gangtok, the capital of Sikkim. You got in a helicopter and got there in half an hour or something. Do I have a feeling that you felt quite sick when you got to the top? And then we did various lives and the World Today live from the rooftop of this hotel in this town that just sort of clings to the side of the mountain in the Himalayas with Kanchenjunga in the background. Very, very spectacular setting. Definitely worth it.
So you were Delhi correspondent, Andy, and I was doing a two-way one of so many that we did over the years, and Kashmir was in the news, and I'd been told I had to ask you, just tell us, what's Kashmir all about? And you gave this quintessential BBC answer. Well, you said, what the Indians would tell you is, and you outlined very clearly and succinctly the Indian position. What the Pakistanis say, on the other hand, you said, and off you went, and you described the Pakistani position. And then you paused for just one moment, and you said, and of course, they're both right. It was perfect BBC, quintessential BBC, as indeed you are, Andy. All the very best. It's been great fun.